Hi everyone. I've got a wiggly little creature here, Kalia. I wanted her to say hello, but she's more interested in running off. So we'll see where she goes. But I have our first two chapters of our new book. So I didn't have it with me yesterday, but it's called High Tide in Hawaii, book number 28. So this looks fun. Miss Lauder went to Hawaii for the first time over last summer. And it was beautiful. And I see they're surfing over here, which I didn't go surfing, but I saw a lot of people out there, but I did play in the beach and go swimming. So let's see what happens. High tide in Hawaii. Chapter 1 is called Ship with a question mark. Let's see what happens. Jack and Annie were sitting on their porch reading books. Jack was reading about gorillas, and Annie was reading about pilgrims. Suddenly, Annie closed her book, and she looked up into the sunset. Hey, Annie said with a smile. Jack looked over at her. It's back, she said, jumping up. Oh, man, breathed Jack. He knew that she was talking about the magic treehouse. Annie could always tell when it was back. Jack closed his book and stood up. We're going to the woods, he called through the screen door. There's something we have to check on. You need to be back before dark, their mom said. We will, said Jack. He picked up his backpack, then him and Annie headed across the yard. When they got to the sidewalk, they started running, and they ran up their street and into the Frog Creek woods. In the last light of day, they hurried between the trees. Finally, they came to the tallest oak. They held their breath as they looked up. The magic treehouse was back. Good going, said Jack. Thanks, said Annie. She started up the ladder, and Jack followed. It was nearly dark inside, but the sun-dried wood smelled like a summer day. What kind of special magic will we look for this time? Said Jack. They glanced around the treehouse, and then they saw the scrolls they brought back from Shakespeare's theater. And they also saw the twig from the mountain gorillas, and they saw the pouch of corn seeds from the first Thanksgiving. There, said Annie. She pointed to a book in the corner. A piece of paper was sticking out of it. Jack picked up the book, then he pulled out the paper and read, Dear Jack and Annie, good luck on your 4th journey to find a special magic. This secret rhyme will help guide you. To find a special magic, build a special kind of ship that rides the waves, both high and low, on every kind of trip. Thank you, Morgan. Jack looked at Annie. A ship, he said. She shrugged. Yep, I guess we'll have to build a ship. Where do we go to build it? She looked at the book's cover, and it showed palm trees, a beach, and a beautiful ocean. And the title of the book was called A Visit to Old Hawaii. Oh, wow, said Annie. I love Hawaii. How do you know you love it? We've never been there. Well, we're going now, said Annie. She pointed to the cover of the book and said, We wish we could go here. Then the wind started to blow. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. And that takes us to chapter 2. Ooh, it's got pictures called Aloha. Look at the beautiful, that looks like there's maybe a mountain, could be a volcano here, and then it looks like they've landed in a palm tree. I see the beach in the background. All right, let's read chapter 2. Jack opened his eyes, and a gentle wind brushed against his skin. It smelled sweet and fresh. Annie looked out the window. Nice, she said. Jack looked out too. The treehouse had landed on top of a tall palm tree. The palm tree was at the edge of a flowery meadow. On one side of the meadow, a cliff dropped down to the beach and the ocean. On the other side of the meadow, there were rooftops of a small village. Beyond the village, there were tall gray mountains, and the misty clouds hid their peaks. Waterfalls gushed down the sides of the mountains. Oh, I told you I love Hawaii, Annie said. Don't you? Well, I have to learn about it first, said Jack. He pushed his glasses into place and opened up the research book, and he read the words out loud. Hawaii is a chain of islands in the Pacific Ocean. The largest island is called Hawaii, which gives its name to the whole group. The islands were formed millions of years ago by volcanoes. The volcanoes erupted under the ocean. Over time, their craters rose above water to create the islands. Wow, said Annie. So we're technically on top of a volcano. Yeah, said Jack, and he read on. The volcanic rock crumbled and turned into soil. Over millions of years, wind and birds dropped seeds on the islands. Plants and trees began to grow, and birds and insects made their homes. Cool, said Jack. He took out his notebook and pencil and wrote, Wind and birds brought seeds. Then he decided to read some more. About 2,000 years ago, people first came to Hawaii. They came in canoes from other islands in the Pacific. They rowed for thousands of miles across the ocean, guided only by the wind and the stars. Hey, listen, said Annie. Jack put down the book and listened. Sounds of music and laughter floated in the breeze. There must be a party in that village, said Annie. Let's go. Yeah, but what about building the ship? Asked Jack. Yeah, we'll figure that out later, said Annie. Let's go meet some people at the party. Maybe they can help us. She started down the ladder, and Jack heard a whoop of laughter in the distance. That party does sound fun, he thought. He packed up his things and followed Annie down to the ground. The sun was low in the sky, and they walked through the meadow toward the village. Everything was bathed in a golden red glow. Oh, man, breathed Jack. There was beauty everywhere. Purple flowers shaped like bells. There were white flowers that looked like stars. There was tall, feathery ferns. There was green, spiky plants, big orange and black butterflies, and tiny yellow birds. When they got close to the village, they saw an open area filled with people. Jack and Annie slipped behind them in a palm tree, and they peeked out at the party. There were about 50 people there, including grown-ups, teenagers, and little kids. They were all barefoot, and they wore wreaths of flowers around their neck. A woman was chanting. Her words rose, and they felt like waves. She chanted about a volcano goddess named Pele. While she chanted, other people played music. Some blew on pipes that looked like flutes. Others shook gourds that sounded like baby rattles. Some hit sticks together to make clicking sounds. Most of the villagers were dancing to the music, and they stepped from side to side. They swayed their hips and waved their hands. Oh, have you seen people do that? Like this? Annie said, They're doing the hula. She smiled, and she waved her hands too. Don't get carried away, whispered Jack. He took out their book and found a picture of Hawaiians dancing, and he read, The early Hawaiians had no written language, so they told stories with hula dancing. The hula is a blend of dancing and chanting poetry. So Jack pulled out his notebook, and he started a list about early Hawaii. No written language, they told stories with the hula. Suddenly, Jack heard loud laughter and clapping, and he looked up. Annie was gone. Jack peeked out from behind the tree. Annie was doing the hula with the other dancers. But no one seemed surprised. Everyone just smiled at her and they kept dancing. A girl caught sight of Jack, and she looked about Annie's age. She had long, shiny black hair and a big, friendly smile. Come do the hula with us, she shouted. No way, breathed Jack. She slipped up behind the tree again, but then the girl danced over to him and took his hand. Join us, she said. No thanks, said Jack. But the girl didn't let go. She pulled Jack into the open, and the music got louder, and the dancers and musicians smiled and nodded at Jack. He stood still. Jack didn't know how to do any kind of dance, let alone a hula. He just stared at the ground, clutching his backpack and notebook until the music and dancing ended. The Hawaiians gathered around Jack and Annie, but they all had friendly, open faces. And here they are at the party. And you can see there's Annie, and there's Jack, and there's the girl that was grabbing his hand. And they're all staring, but they all look friendly. And Jack's holding his backpack. He does not want to dance, but look at Annie over here. She was having a good time. Who are you? The young girl asked. I'm Annie, said Annie, and this is my brother, Jack. I'm Kama, the girl said, and this is my brother, Boca. She pointed to a boy in the crowd who looked about Jack's age. The boy stepped forward. He grinned a big grin, just like his sister's. He pulled off his wreath of fluffy red flowers, and he put it around Annie's neck. Here is a lei to welcome you, Boca said. Kama then pulled off her lei and put it around Jack's neck. Aloha, Jack and Annie, everyone said. And that takes us to chapter number 3 called Sleepover. So far, this book is good. They haven't really run into any trouble or any problems, so I'm liking this book so far, but if you know these books like I do, I bet trouble's around the corner, so I hope everything's okay. Tune in tomorrow for chapters 3 and 4. Bye, friends. Love you. See you later.